Hey everyone, Morgan here. So I asked a bunch of prepper YouTubers, I wish I had known this before I started prepping. And here are their answers. Be sure to wait to the end to hear my answer.
Hey, this is Cliff, also known as the Urban Prepper. And one thing that I wish I knew when first starting off with prepping was to focus less on evacuation prepping and focus more on internal bug-in type prepping. When I initially got started, I was worried about earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, and so I was worried about bug out bags and things like that. However, I've never had to use my bug out bag, and I've had to use things like my EDC bag much more. So I think that a lot of times people get a little obsessed with zombies or end of the world type stuff, and they're always thinking about Mad Max bugging out, getting an inch bag and things like that, when really everything should start off with your EDC first. Don't get anything else until you get your EDC squared away, and then start focusing on your home preps like food and water, medical supplies, and things like that. Prepping is kind of boring when it comes down to it, and a lot of the stuff that's the most exciting, cool stuff that you might get with prepping is stuff that you're going to be less likely to use, and you're going to probably rely on the stuff that's a lot more boring on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I would focus on first when just getting started with prepping.
Hi everyone, Lisa from Sutton's Days here. I was asked, what is the number one thing that I wish I had known when I first began prepping? And I would have to say that it's not about the end of the world as we know it. Yeah, it's not a dystopian novel or movie. It is about everyday life. My preparedness, pantry preparedness, is about life's little emergencies. It's the best insurance policy that money can buy. It is about weather-related emergencies, financial emergencies, medical emergencies, life, because you can never trust for life to go smooth, right? And having things stocked up, put back, put aside is just another form of insurance so that we're covered, so that it's one less stress that we have to deal with. So my number one piece of advice is don't prep for the end of the world as we know it.
Hey Morgan, this is the Canadian Prepper. You know, one of the biggest mistakes I made when we came out to this property was I wanted to plant fruit trees and I wanted to get it done fast because fruit trees take a long time to grow. They're excellent because they produce a lot of food. There was some lush prairie grass out here, nice green grass, no weeds whatsoever, just grass. And I thought to myself, we can't plant an orchard in grass. That's a sacrilege. So what did I do? Like some urbanite caveman buffoon with a tractor? On day one, I came out here and I rototilled the hell out of it. And I said, oh, look at all that black soil. Isn't that beautiful? And I thought to myself, man, I'm conquering nature. And what happened just a few days later? I'm sure somebody can guess. Yes, the weeds, the gnarliest looking weeds you ever seen in your life. Had I just left it as green grass, augured some holes, put some mulch around the trees, my problems would have been solved and I could just cut the grass. That's all I would have to do. I wouldn't have to weed. I wouldn't have to lay out this landscape fabric and do the mulch thing, which is just a pain in the ass. My advice to people is, please, if you're gonna do something like this and you got that prairie grass, just find a way to work with it because you're not gonna control the weeds. The weeds are just horrendous. Landscape fabric though, hey, it'll last you for a while. And hey, that's a great thing for Morgan to put in the description section on Amazon. Make sure you get the nice big 11 foot by 110 feet rolls. You won't be disappointed.
Hi, Mary Ellen here from Prepper Potpourri, and Morgan asked me a question. What do I wish I would have known when I first started prepping? Well, when I was first married, I thought expiration dates meant that's it. Nothing's good left in here. Let's throw it out. And I want you to know that I actually threw out a lot of good food just because it was past its expiration date. So now I know that these are more suggested times, right, for best quality. And often what's in these cans? It lasts for many years after. So I still put the date on, but notice this says August 2022. I think it's still good.
The one thing I wish I knew earlier was that not everybody in the prepper community or in the world is going to be your friend. You definitely have to pick and choose and definitely judge people based on past experience whether or not you want them to be in your prepper community or just even be your friend during the apocalypse. There's been a lot of backstabbery, that's not a word, in the prepper community, and I see that in the world it's the same thing. So just because they're preppers and you guys are on the same page does not mean you guys will get along, and does not mean you need to trust them right out of the gates. Trust takes a long time to build up, especially in an end of the world or survival scenario. You can't just trust everyone just because they have the same title as a prepper as you do.
Hey guys, this is Prepping with Sarge. So Morgan recently asked me if I could go back in time and change something about my preps or do something earlier, what would I do? And the answer is immediate for me. I would start financial prepping earlier. Now, I'm not just talking about gold and silver, which I am a big fan of, but I'm also talking about like dividend producing stocks, buying up land, building businesses, things like that. The bottom line is, if we never have like a true big SHTF situation, then at some point you're going to hit retirement and you're going to need some assets to help you survive retirement. And that too is part of prepping.
What's up, my preppers? Derek from Prepper Press. Something I wish I had done first as a new prepper: take a deep breath, relax, and come up with a plan. Do a threat assessment. Figure out what the most likely threats are for you in your area. Odds are high that's going to be some type of short-term power outage, a natural disaster, or maybe even job loss. Then figure out what you need to do to address those most probable situations. Then move on to the next most probable threat on your list. Preps for the second level stack on top of the first level, and you become increasingly more prepared. Having a personal prepper plan like this will save you time, it'll save you money, and you'll be able to measure your progress, which will make you more likely to see it through. Don't adopt somebody else's plan, come up with your own. What works for a 70-year-old in Florida is not going to work for a 20-something couple in Nevada. I hope that's helpful. Don't get discouraged. Stick with it.
The number one thing that I wish I had known when I very first started prepping was that I could have bought the majority of my long-term storage food from the LDS Family Home Storage, either in person at one of their locations or online, and without having to be Mormon. When I very first started prepping, I would buy the bulk food, and then I would buy the food grade buckets and the Mylar bags and the oxygen absorber, and then I would do them all, spend all that time to do them all up. And then later I learned that you can buy the food, most of those same foods, from the LDS Family Home Storage that's already in these number 10 cans, already vacuum packed and ready to store for 30 years for pretty much the same price that the food from the bulk stores cost. Plus, with this, I save a lot of that time that I don't have to be putting it into the buckets and sealing them up and everything like that. So now every time that I buy bulk food that's going to be for long-term storage, I always get it from the LDS Family Home Storage. Peace out.
My message to anybody starting out in prepping and preparedness is to appreciate this stage of the process. Once you get to some of your prepping milestones, some of your prepping goals, there's a huge sense of accomplishment and of peace of mind in being in that situation. But one thing that you lose once you've gone down the road for a while and you've accomplished a lot of things on your prepping journey is a lot of that sense of excitement from the very beginning when you just started out. This is something that's true of any kind of a journey in life, whether it is a prepping journey or some other type of large-scale project. As you're moving through and you're making decisions, every time you make a decision about something that you're going to do, where you're going to live, how you're going to set up your pantry, how you're going to do this, how you're going to do that, you're closing doors, because every time you make a decision, you're choosing one door and ignoring a lot of the other doors. When you're just starting out in some sort of a new venture, you have all those doors open, all the possibilities are open, and there's an excitement in that. Appreciate it now while you have it, because it never gets any better than that. When you're just starting out, the sky's the limit.
Thank you all so much for participating, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment, share, and all that. And please go over to the other preppers' YouTuber channels if you haven't already, and subscribe to them. Now here's my answer. I wish I had known to just prep for our needs. I was very heavily influenced by what at the time was a very heavy influence in the prepper community of like military and very kind of like male dominated preparedness. There wasn't a ton of family mom preparedness at the time. So I wish that I had known to just prep for our needs. Don't prep to be somebody I'm not, or to have the life that I don't want or don't have. but it's to simply prep for our needs. And yeah, it took me a little while to learn that, but and if you are a brand new prepper, welcome to my channel. And I have a 30 Days to Ready series where it's 30 days of preparedness videos to get you started and ready from scratch. So I hope that you will check out that playlist down below in the description. What is one thing you wish you had known when you first started prepping? Comment down below. Conquer tomorrow by preparing today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.